Well, tonight in the podcast, ladies and gentlemen, we have Jason Johnson. If anybody know who Jason Johnson is, he is definitely one of the Democrat shills that has been around for a very long time. I remember the first time I actually engaged Jason Johnson was back in 2018 at Politicon, and we kind of went back and forth a little bit. And I had the footage of that. I have to find exactly where it's at. But Jason Johnson, you know, in this particular piece on MSNBC, you have Simone Sanders there and Mr. Steele from, you know, he used to be a head of the Republican Party, but I don't know how you go from the head of the Republican Party to over there with the Democrats and MSNBC. Is quite interesting. But I want you to hear what he's going to say. And as you see the caption below, he's only saying how the Democrats really feel about black men at the end of the day, and not only black men, but black people. Let's go ahead and roll that.
I mean, to quote Succession, these are not serious people. They never have been, right? But what I always look at when I look at any of these conversations about black folks, I always expand it, right? I always expand it to the rising majority that's in this country. Yes. It ain't gonna fall on the shoulders of black people as to whether or not Joe Biden gets elected. The people who are not being discussed enough are the increasingly conservative young Asian and Latino men in places like Texas and Arizona and Colorado. That's going to be the difference. And while everybody sits and has this laser focus on black men, you've got Latino men who are working at the border who are like, hey, I don't like these immigration issues. Why is nobody talking about me? You've got Asian American men who are saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't think affirmative action has worked for me. We have this twisted focus on the wrong group of people. No matter if every single black person, and always, you always had 12, 13% of black people who end up voting for Republican anyway. If every single black man in America who voted for Trump went and voted for Joe Biden this time, it ain't going to change much.
I don't think that's true.
But a large, I'm telling you, even unless you look at a place like Georgia, right, which is a very, very small margin. But most of those black men, it's not going to end up making a difference. But if we look at Latino men and we look at Asian men, that's where the difference is. That's where the focus needs to be. We have the Democrats have to have, the Democrats have to have a pivot to different kinds of people and stop talking to folks who are 55, 60 years old who listen to what an old rapper has to say because their vote's already decided. It's those 18, 19-year-olds who are working right now at CVS and Verizon who don't see a difference, who are the ones who are liable to either stay home or switch their vote.
Now, the internet going to be on fire by what you just said about black men, Jason. I just want to get your mentions.
And Simone Sanders is 100% correct. Yes, I caught that. And thank you for the person that actually sent me this video. They actually went to our website, AfricanDiasporaNews.org, went to the contact section. And on the contact section, you can, send me a message, give me a link to something, let me look at it, and we'll try to go through it and check that out. Now, Jason Johnson here, let's talk about that. He mentioned that the Democrats should not be worrying about black men at all. And hey, we cool with that. But let's talk about the two groups that he's, referring to. So he's saying that the Democrat Party should pivot away, in which we already know they have pivoted away from black folk. I mean, come on, it's not very hard to figure that out. We know about the Asian hate crime, bill and all that they signed as soon as Biden got in office. And then Biden has let over 7 million migrants come into this country. Majority come from Latin American countries. So it kind of is about in line of what he's actually saying, right? But in the 2024 election, eligible voters in the Hispanic community is 36.2 million people. In the Asian community, eligible voters is 15 million. Now in the black community, is 34 million people that is eligible to vote in the 2024 election. So Jason Johnson is saying that they shouldn't be talking about black men. They should be talking about Hispanic men and Asian men. This is also an issue, Jason Johnson, and you're supposed to be a political scientist, right? You know that in the Hispanic community, the vote is split. Now, as you see, it's trending more toward Democrat, but they still vote Republican. In the Asian community, the vote is split. They trend a little bit more to the Democrat, but they're still voting for Republican. In the black community, it trends too far with the Democrat and barely anything with the Republican. So you mean to tell me that you rather screw over the group of people that actually show up for you and go and still, I don't know why y'all think y'all can go after these other groups. Now, about the Hispanic vote, because I was just doing some research into it. The biggest margin of their voter base are U.S. citizens. And guess what? Jason Johnson, you have a problem with them because the bulk of their voters are between 40 and 49, then underneath them. So basically, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z, the group of people that y'all got the most problem with when it comes to voting. So how you really going to go after the Hispanic community and the majority of them fitting in Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z? That's going to be your problem with that particular strategy. But let's talk about black men. Some people may say, why black men is the story of the 2024 election. Black men have shown something. And notice they're not really mentioning black women, but they're mentioning black men because they know black men has gotten up and so moving with their feet away from the Democrat Party. Why has black men moved away from the Democrat Party? Because there's nothing there for black men. Let's listen what the Democrat Party, what their mantra is, and let's see if it benefits black men. Immigration does not benefit black American men at all. Nothing. So that doesn't benefit us. They promote LGBT. That doesn't benefit the majority of black men. Now, the black men who are LGBT, but you got to remember, the whole of the LGBT community in the United States of America is about, 2 to 3%. So it does not benefit the whole of black men in America. It don't. What else they talk about? Reproductive rights, abortion, etc. That does not benefit black American men. Not every black American man is reckless in making children. Okay? There are a lot of black American men who are very responsible. And even if you look at the amount of women who are having children in our community, there's only a small pool of men who are making multiple babies with women. The majority of a lot of black men don't even have children at all. So how is that something that's going to benefit black American men? Now, listen to what I mentioned. None of these things put food on the table, pay the light bill, pay the car note, insurance, rent, mortgage, none of that. What else do Democrats talk about constantly? Climate change. How does that benefit black American men? We are children of the sun. We are of African descent. It don't matter how hot it get. We good. We are fine. We have been on this earth for millions of years. Trust me, we are okay. Well, what else do Democrats talk about? Social programs. And these social programs, you have to be in abject poverty to get it. Black men do not want to be in abject poverty to get a social program. We don't. What are they doing? The culture war thing, talking about racism. You talk about racism, but won't do nothing about racism. And that's why I don't want to hear racism talk from the Democrats. Because when they have the power to do something about quote unquote racism, they do nothing. They just say, look how racist he is. Look how racist he is. And let me tell you something else the Democrats are trying to do. Let me point this out to you. And that's why I'm going to be on the Democrats about this whole case now. The young man, Daryl George, here in Texas, he's been suspended out of school because of his natural hair. Now, Texas have a Crown Act, and yet the judge sided with the school, but, they could appeal it or whatever. I've interviewed the mother and all of that on my African Diaspora News channel page in the beginning, before the case and all of that. The Democrats, what I'm hearing, Sheila Jackson Lee is starting to circle around that child. Now, from what I'm hearing, all the local Democrats circling Jolanda Jones, all these different people, and I heard he didn't got invited up there to the State of the Union, and so now the Democrats are going to try to latch on to this boy. They have the power to do something about things, but they don't want to do nothing but use this child to get sympathy for this child so they can say, see, come vote for us. We gonna do something about it. Doggone it, you didn't do nothing about it when it was George Floyd. Don't fall for that crap that the Democrats pull. They play on your heartstrings very well, black folk, but then when they get power, they do nothing. Biden got in office. What happened to that Police Accountability Commission? Gone. What happened to holding the race soldiers accountable? Well, Congress needs to do that. I'm not focusing on that. Soon as he got in office, he said, screw black people. And now they're trying to use that child to play that same game again, because a lot of black folks are cool on Democrats right now. Either they talking about Couch 2024 or they talking about Trump. Either or. And they know this, so they're like, oh, yes, let me go over on and try to be like vultures around this child. They don't care about that child. They don't. Because if they cared about that child, they'd have provided for that child to go to another school, and they would have paid for it. They'd have put him in a black private school or something and paid for that situation to happen. They don't care nothing about that child. It is sick what the Democrats are trying to start doing now around Darryl George. I have a big issue with that. Every time the Democrats get power, they do nothing about racism. They do nothing about discrimination. They don't do a thing. And then they say, well, the Republicans, they won't let me do it. See, I would do it, but it's those Republicans. No, it's you. It's you. Every time you get the House, every time you get the Senate, you do nothing for black folk. Nothing. But with other groups, Ukraine, the Asian community, the migrants, boy, the Republicans don't stop you from doing anything, do they? You never hear about Republican opposition when it comes to all these other people. Only when it comes to black folk, all of a sudden it's the Republicans. They stopping me from doing it. I'm not trying to hear no Republican anything no more. Y'all had power so many times and didn't do nothing with it. If y'all did right by black folk in 2020 and showed that you was going to do right, you wouldn't have a problem in 2024. Black people all over the nation are saying, you haven't done nothing for us. Nothing. And you could discount black men. It's fine. You could dismiss black men. It's fine. Let me tell you something. If we as black men do something enough, the women go eventually follow. That's what y'all don't understand. Black men have more and more black men are saying enough is enough. I'm talking to black men and they're telling me enough is enough. They're sick of the games that the Democrats are playing. They offer nothing to black men. Now, you may mention, well, what the Republicans offer. Black men today, we care about economic empowerment. That's it. We're not talking about social programs that we got to be in abject poverty to get. No, we're talking about economic empowerment. We're talking about, hey, what policies can be put down where I can, as a black man, do better economically so I can feed my kids, so I can put clothes on their back, so I can keep a roof over my family's head, so I can pay all my bills. This cost of living is crazy. Inflation is up. It's bad with the food. Everything is bad. The Democrats have no problem giving billions of dollars to Ukraine, but they won't put billions of dollars in your pocket. And black men are seeing all this. They're prioritizing everybody else but black people. Why should we come out and vote for you? And at the same time, you're insulting black men. Now, my next podcast, I'm going to get on the Republicans too. Oh, you next. You next. I seen that little mess on Fox News and all that about the sneakers. Oh, I'm going to deal with y'all too. You next. But you're not going to be talking down to black men like that. And y'all talk to us in not in a very paternalistic way. It's very paternalistic and it's very condescending. And black men alone are offended at paternalistic conversation and condescending talk like we don't know what we're doing because we don't want to vote for Democrat. You offer something to black folk. You offer something to black men. You offer economic empowerment to black men, but you're not doing that. You're not. And that's why you're losing black men, and you're going to continue to lose black men. See, these black men that you're talking about, the Gen X black men, the millennial black men, the Gen Z black men, you just about lost them. And you mentioned the Hispanics. The Hispanics, Gen X, millennial, and Gen Z, you're going to lose them too because they want economic empowerment way more than we do. The Asian, they want economic empowerment. Now, you mentioned the Asians with the affirmative action, all that. We see how that's blowing up in their face. It's blowing up every day. They just had another case that they want to go to court over. They want the Supreme Court to look at it about this particular magnet school, and they changed the rules. It'd be race neutral after the case. And when they did race neutral, more black people got into school and Hispanics over them. And they are upset because their numbers went down and more blacks and Hispanic numbers actually increased. And they are upset about that. See, if they would have never messed with affirmative action, then maybe that wouldn't have happened, right? And this school is actually in Virginia, Fairfax County. You can look it up. But when it comes to black men are waking up. Black men are waking up. And every election cycle, because, every 2 years there's an election. Of course, every 4 years president, but every 2 years or so, you got your midterms, etc. You're going to have to deal with us, our Gen X, Millennial, and Gen Z. You're going to deal with us. Time is on our side, Jason Johnson. It's on our side. And one thing you can't do, you can't talk down to us. It's not going to work. You can't use our ancestors to shame us to go just vote Democrats. Not going to work. Just not. You can't tell us about voting rights. We've been having our voting rights ever since we turned 18. What are you talking about? You can't say voter ID is racist because every black person I know got an ID. We know why you say it. You say it so these people who aren't citizens could finesse in and try to vote. That's what you Democrats been trying to do. And I'm glad a judge struck that down in New York to stop that from happening. How you even go try to attempt something like that? You must be a United States citizen to be eligible to vote. Period. But the one thing I can't stand is you want to use racism, you want to use police brutality and all of that to stir black people up. But when you empower, you do nothing about it. And then you leave after you get elected. We don't see you no more. We don't know you exist. Then you come back around in midterms 2 years later. Hey, black people, look at all the racism. Look at those Republicans over there. Ooh, they so racist. Vote for us. We're gonna protect you. They don't do nothing. Then after they get elected, they leave again. 2 years later, they come back. Ooh, look at the racism. We as a black community don't need Democrats to talk about racism. We can deal with racism, white supremacy on our own. We don't need you. You have people be trying to say, well, we marched with George Floyd. Ain't nobody asked none of you two to talk about George Floyd. You didn't come out there for George Floyd. A lot of you other groups came out with George Floyd because you wanted to get out your house because you were locked down and you were bored. And you were pent up angry about the government. Don't come out here talking about you were marching for George Floyd. A lot of you was not marching for no doggone George Floyd. One thing I won't let other groups do is try to throw it up in our face. We was out there doing this. Ain't nobody asked you to. Did we make an appeal for you to come out there? No, we can do things on our own by ourselves. We don't need nobody. And a lot of you came out there was doing some stupidity. Wasn't even talking about no George Floyd. Like you done us a favor. You didn't do us no favor. These other groups come out here and finesse a Black Lives Matter, and now where's Black Lives Matter now after all the money was stolen? Well, why aren't they going to jail? All that money that was finessed, nobody going to jail? Nobody? But you got people going to jail that got $10,000 PPP loans, but all this money that was stolen with Black Lives Matter, nobody going to jail? And I'm not saying go lock up the 4 black women either. I'm talking about them white folks that had their hands in all that $90 million. Poof, that money gone. We don't know what happened to that money. And nobody get investigated. Nobody going to jail. Okay, but you see how the Democrats are, right? If it don't come from the grassroots, it's not nothing. That's about it, bottom line. But this is how they feel about black men. Black men, you're doing a good job. Stay the course, black men. Stay the course. Many of you have said you either doing a couch, or many of you have said you're going to vote for Trump. Either or, stay the course. These people don't deserve black men's vote. Then in that piece, they was insulting Killer Mike and all that. Why would you insult Killer Mike? Just because he was trying to come up with a plan to handle all the situation with pregnancy and child support and all of that. At least the man was trying to come up with something. You politicians don't do nothing about child support, divorce law, alimony. Y'all haven't redone any of these laws. And you wonder why people don't want to get married. People don't want to get married today because, especially if you're a man, it is financial ruin for a man to get married. And you wonder why the marriage rate has tanked and people don't want to have kids. And That's why families aren't being created in this country anymore. And the immigrants that's coming in here now, they're going to get on the same bandwagon, just give them a generation. The Democrats offer nothing for black men. Nothing. Because what you going to offer us? What, just playing games about racism? That's why a lot of black men have walked away from the Democrat Party. You have little sassy people like Boule Martin. Like, that's not going to work with Gen X, Millennial, and Gen Z. That's not going to work. That sassiness. Because it's embarrassing personally when you see a man like Boule Martin with gray in his beard being sassy, like a young woman, talking down on Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z men who are in the black community. They don't respect that. They look at you as a clown. They're going to turn you off. I guarantee you, if you poll his audience is going to be probably 55 plus. It's not going to be the young people. Not at all. But black men, you hold the line. You hold the line. Let me tell you something, black men. Respect yourself. You don't let no other man or no woman sit up there and try to sun you. Okay? Sun you into going and vote for Democrat. I don't care. Now they'll try two strategies, okay, to get you. I'm going to tell you the second strategy. So either they're going to sun you or they're going to try to use the simp strategy. Now, what's the simp strategy? They'll bring a Jasmine Crockett. They'll bring somebody like her. They'll bring a woman to try to come underneath the soft underbelly and try to talk to you in a way to lower your defenses so they can inject that Democrat, right? Because you'll be hardcore against a Jason Johnson possibly, but if they bring in, let Tiffany Cross herself come talk to you and try to get underneath where you're lowering your defenses to her, you can't simp. Even if a Tiffany Cross herself come talk to you about Democrat, you can't be a simp. The same energy you would give Jason Johnson, you give it to her. You say, listen, sister, listen, I hear you, but at the end of the day, they're not doing nothing for black men and black people. See, listen, if black men are good, then we could take care of black women like yourself, right? So they're not giving us anything. And the racism talk is over with for me because when they have the power to do something about racism, they don't. When they talk about police brutality and mass incarceration, they do nothing about it. So what are you telling me about it for? If you're not going to do it, I'm not going to vote for you to go do nothing when I'm watching you spend money with Ukraine. I'm like, sister, don't you see, like, they taking money from you too. Look, all the migrants, that's supposed to be our money, me and you. And look all the money where it's going. See, that's how you gotta talk to the women just like that, because they'll pull that stuff off on you black men. They'll do that. Watch it. Watch that strategy. I want you to fortify yourself all the way around. Don't simp out. Don't simp out politically. Don't do it because a woman's talking to you. Just keep your eye on the prize. That's what you have to do. But it's just interesting. But in Fox News Republicans, I'll be dealing with y'all tomorrow. Because one thing you're not gonna do, if we don't like the pandering from the Democrats, you're not gonna get away with it either.